I've got kids who are new drivers. I tell them, slow down, stop, look, I don't care. This is what's going on right now. It is really terrifying. And so,
situation probably could have been prevented. Defendant Salisbury allegedly shouldn't have been on the road in the first place because he didn't have a license. He was unlawfully on the roadway. As a result, we have 2 people, unfortunately, that are deceased. I think it's clear that the defendant poses a danger to the public. We have blood alcohol content that shows that there was alcohol in his system. We have an individual who failed to abide by the law, not get a license, and drive. And as a result, Your Honor, he does pose a danger to the public, and we are asking for a cash bond in this matter in the amount of $50,000, no surety.
okay. So let me just ask you a couple of questions here as I look at the investigator's report. Alcohol was in the system, but he was under the legal limit. Is that correct?
It's a .07.
Okay, so he's under the legal limit.
Correct.
And the speed limit in the area where he was is what?
I believe it was 35, and he was actually going under because he was just exiting the parking lot.
Okay, so he's under the speed limit, and it shows he's braking at some point, but not as he gets most close to the accident.
I don't.
He's 20 miles per hour with braking.
He was never braking.
20 miles at 5 seconds, 20 miles per hour with braking.
Prior.
At 4 seconds, 19 miles per hour with braking. And then you get into the no braking, right?
As we get closer to the impact.
And then we get the other defendant who's actually strange that they're charged in the same document because he hit him, right? And well, they hit each other because allegedly Mr. Salisbury failed to yield. But this other person is going twice the speed limit.
That's absolutely correct,
with no braking ever. Well, I guess right beforehand. So he's got the opposite issue. He's not braking beforehand, but right before he does brake.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I guess the argument, at least for this defendant, would be, Your Honor, that he was unlawfully on the road, shouldn't have been on the roadway in the first place.
Yeah.
Let alone shouldn't have had the occupants in his vehicle. And as a direct result of that, if he wasn't on the roadway, this wouldn't have happened, but he decided to make that decision, and there's a reason why. You have a valid license, you have to go through all of the credentials. Defendant did not decide to do so, and we have this now before the court.
Do we know that he never had a license?
Your Honor, what I have is that, Your Honor, based on the case that was up in 2020, the driver's license was never acquired.
Well, okay. I mean, I will tell you, I find it very curious that in the same ticket, I will have a ticket for driving while license never acquired and driving while license suspended. So I don't know how those things get charged. And so I was just wondering if we had any information that he in fact never had a license.
I do see
they charge that, and it's so weird. It's so strange to me.
Denied. Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point there was a license. At some point, because if his license got revoked or denied, or if it got revoked,
that, Your Honor, makes sense.
but I don't know. I mean, it just, so like I said, it was just a question because of the way these things get charged. It doesn't make sense to me how somebody.
It was just based on the review search of the 36th district.
Okay.
In that case that the people ended up seeing that the driver's license was never acquired.
Okay, all right. I mean, these cases are just always difficult because essentially what someone's doing is violating traffic laws, right? And then there could catastrophic results. And so where do we focus the attention on the actual wrongdoing or on the catastrophic results? And it's just difficult. Defense counsel, I'll hear your argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. I advise that Mr. Salisbury, judge, is 22 years old. He's a life resident here. He indicates he has no prior criminal conviction, no home matters, no probation, no parole, dark conversation. He's making me employee at McDonald's, stable residence with his mother. Judge, he's obviously lucky to be alive. I've had the chance to listen to counsel's arguments, read this investigative report. When I break this down, this guy's pulled out of McDonald's and the car comes flying and absolutely crushes him. He's lucky to be alive. I know he was in the hospital, as counsel mentioned, and in rehab after that. Unfortunately, some of the passengers of that car lost their lives, but I don't know if I agree with counsel when we say but for him not having a license that would have happened. I think but for, the co-defendant, I'm still surprised they charged the co-defendant, because I think their positions are really adversarial, but the co-defendant comes in flying and crushes him. I think that can happen to me and anybody else with a valid license. Now, Judge, I understand the charge on his face. I'm the prosecutor and I have discretion. I'm not charging this because, this could be an unpaid traffic ticket as suspended his license, and otherwise it could have been any one of us. Pulling out of McDonald's slow, somebody going twice the speed limit and just crushes you. I think personal bond should be appropriate here, Your Honor. It's been quite some time that the guy has absolutely no context with the criminal justice system. I may have heard the court arraign him on, and her counsel mentioned some traffic matters, but other than that, I don't believe he's a danger to the community. I think the court wants to go as far as doing like a no driving provision. I think they could be appropriate here. But I don't believe on its face he actually did anything wrong. If his license is valid, he would have been in the same position as any one of us pulling out of McDonald's. For those reasons, I'm asking the court to release him on personal bond and impose any conditions the court feels appropriate.
Judge, I think it's very interesting that the defense counsel makes the argument if his driver's license was valid, then the same type of result would have occurred. His driver's license wasn't valid. He didn't have a license in the first place. And I think this is where the people are coming from, because he was unlawfully on the roadway. And I'm remiss if I ended up saying otherwise. He shouldn't have been on the roadway.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't about the actual license. It's about the fact that he was driving when he shouldn't have been driving. And
Well, I think defense counsel is arguing, I will tell you personally, I have become terrified of intersections in the city.
yeah.
I don't care whether or not I have the right of way. I slow down, sometimes stop, wait, look, because defendants like Defendant Johnson are barreling through intersections at 70, 75 miles per hour. It's terrifying. I've got kids who are new drivers. I tell them, slow down, stop, look, I don't care. This is what's going on right now. It is really terrifying. And so when I hear defense counsel's argument that, yeah, that could have been any one of us, I do understand it, because it feels like it could be me or you every day, sometimes around here. And so I'm dealing with Mr. Salisbury, who, as I said, these are obviously catastrophic results. And the knee-jerk reaction is to want to lock somebody up when there are catastrophic results. But my job is to assess how dangerous he is to the community, whether he's a flight risk. And so the danger he presents is that he keeps driving when he's not supposed to, and he knows he's not supposed to. So how do I stop that? How do I stop him from driving, which is really the behavior that he engaged in, right? I mean, he wasn't speeding. He's coming out of a driveway and somebody barrels into him going twice the speed limit. Passengers in his car are injured, killed. He's severely injured, but I don't know that he wasn't doing twice the speed limit. He was driving when he shouldn't have been driving. So I got to make sure he's not driving.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
In terms of that, I think just the people, just to reiterate the idea that this could have happened, like Your Honor and defense counsel previously said, to anybody, but in this particular matter, he wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah. So, and that's why, I was curious about whether he'd ever had a license, why it was lost, because the truth is people don't pay their tickets and their licenses get suspended. They get enough, it might get revoked. And sometimes people have gotten, done very bad things, and that's why their license is pulled. And those are different kinds of folks, different kinds of drivers. We've got the other defendant here charged with reckless driving. Mr. Salisbury isn't, because he's going under the speed limit at the time that he's hit by someone going twice the legal speed limit. I am going to ensure that he's not driving.
I know Your Honor is very considerate in these matters, and she looks at the entirety of the situation. I think the people would just like to end with this.
Okay.
Is the idea that the licensing issues, at least from what the people see, occurred in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And there were multiple cases. Actually, the defendant never even bothered to show up for any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't show any type of willingness. He didn't show anything in terms of wanting to do this the right way in order to acquire this license.
Okay.
So I can understand where the defense counsel and Your Honor is coming from, but the people would stick to their argument that that a cash bond, just based on the dangerousness of what the defendant did in this matter, is
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to set bond in the amount of $25,000, 10%. I am setting some amount of cash bond because We've got some KPS history here that I'm concerned about that contributed to the license issue, but I'm going to set it at $25,000, 10%. I'm also going to require a GPS tether with full home confinement if he's able to make the bond, because apparently that's the only way to stop him from driving without a license. Right now, is just make sure he doesn't leave his own home. This will give rise to a bond redetermination hearing. That'll be set for Tuesday, May the 23rd in front of Judge McConico. After that, May 26th for probable cause conference, June 1st for preliminary examination, both of those in front of Judge King. Sure, counsel.
Your Honor, and I wasn't going to go into this because I didn't think a lot of it was relevant with some of the traffic matters and licensing, but I think it's important now to shed some light. We live in we're here in one of the poorest cities in the country. My guy's working at McDonald's, living with his mom, taking care of her.
Yep.
If any one of us gets pulled over, we can set up a date with the magistrate, we get $100, $200, it's over, and we're all set, we get 0 points. That doesn't happen with people in Mr. Salisbury's position. You don't have an appointed attorney on a civil infraction traffic ticket. If you're working at McDonald's, supporting your mom, all within the guidelines, you know you gotta pay $200, Judge. I see this with just a lot more people than Mr. Salisbury. A lot of this gives people an incentive not to pay the tickets. And it's wrong. And I agree with the people. And I agree with the court. It's wrong to ignore your traffic tickets and to let it pile up. But I have to reiterate, when we look at this case, this didn't happen because he didn't have a license. This happened because somebody was going 75 and waxes him. That's why it happened. It's not because he didn't have a license, not because he didn't pay his traffic tickets. I know I'm repeating some of the same arguments, Judge, but if he paid his traffic tickets or not, the same thing would have happened. He wasn't driving recklessly. I know the court has a job to do with ensuring him not driving, and I think the court can accomplish that with the full home confinement GPS tether, Judge. I just asked the court to reduce the bond to personal. I don't want him to have to really sit in the Wayne County Jail on this, because when I break it down, what did he do wrong? Not pay his traffic tickets. That's the only thing I think he did wrong, was not pay his traffic tickets and not go through the proper procedure. But Judge, that's expensive. He works at McDonald's. He's in the guidelines. He just got out of rehab for this injury. Living with his mother, caring for his mother. He was with some friends. They were leaving McDonald's. He didn't want this to happen. Nobody wanted this to happen. But he pulls out of this thing, and next thing he knows, he's in the hospital for weeks and weeks. For those reasons, Judge, I'd ask the court to consider reduction of personal, but keep the GPS tether, full home confinement. That guarantees to the court and the people that he's not driving. He cannot leave his house. His treatment's done. He's all set. He has no reason to leave. I'd ask the court to reduce that, to make that, instead of $25,000, 10% with full confinement, make it $100,000 personal with full confinement. He knows how serious this case is, Judge. It's so serious. But I also have a feeling if there's some culpability here, and somebody takes a look at this, when they see no priors besides traffic stuff, they'll probably plead him to moving violation causing death if found guilty. And that's a stretch. But I just ask the court to consider those arguments. I know people want to respond, but thank you, Your Honor.
Just really quickly. And I have a lot of respect for defense counsel and the way he approaches things, as well as Your Honor. But what defense counsel just said sets a very, very, very dangerous precedent. That now we're talking about things that, if allowed, people would just go about their business and defy what in fact they need to do to lawfully, in this matter, get on the roadway. And I think there are plenty of people that do the right thing just based on the law in order to acquire the means in order to have the privilege to drive. So I think Your Honor got it right in terms of this. I don't disagree with the fact that there are socioeconomic issues that may play a part, but in this particular matter, this defendant had over 3 years with multiple notices in an attempt to try to get, acquire, and pay for what he needed in order to lawfully be on the roadway. And Your Honor, I'm going to leave it with that, because I know Your Honor wants to move on to other cases and things, but I do have to say, the argument that was just made, potentially people listening to this may say to themselves, hey, we can get out on a personal bond if we don't do things the right way because of the argument that was just made.
People get out on personal bonds every single day for driving with a suspended license, every day. In fact, it's court policy that they get out on a personal bond. It is exactly what happens.
In this particular case, I think what defense counsel is saying, hey, listen, people don't have the money to do this. And you know what? It's really unfortunate But in this particular matter, the result was death.
Mhm.
So if they're driving without a license and they get picked up and there's no other incident that occurs, so be it.
Yeah.
In this particular incident, it led to 2 people losing their life.
Well, here's where I am. I agree that had he come and taken care of the tickets and had a valid license and been to McDonald's that day, we were likely to have the exact same result because we had another person, the other named defendant in this case, who was in fact doing very reckless things while he was driving, and it is charged that way. And normally, I don't hold it against a person for not coming to court on traffic matters because it's just so widespread. But in this particular incident, it's the traffic matters and the capiouses in those matters, they've all gotten tied up together. And so I am going to leave the bond, as I said, it at $25,000, 10%. $25,000, 10%. If he's able to make that bond, GPS tether with full home confinement. And as I said, somebody will take another look at this on Tuesday, May 23rd. He'll be in front of Judge McConaughey on Tuesday.
Thank you.
And where he'd still be anyway waiting for the tether. So, this will allow Judge McConaughey to take a second look at this and see whether or not he agrees that this bond is appropriate.